Hi everybody, Dougie here. How you doing? Anyway, I just thought about building pyramids, you know. Everybody's kind of wondering how those pyramids were built. And yeah, a lot of ideas come out with an external ramp, and then Houdini thought maybe it was an internal ramp with a bit of external thing with a crane on the outside. I think that Houdini was kind of closer. You know, Houdini's quite the guy. But first thing you got to do, and I guess for building it, I mean they had copper and they could cut the rocks, and you knew about wood swelling to the hydraulic pressures of that. Anyway, basically you have a river here, the Nile. You make a canal right to the pyramid, and then you flatten it out. And basically another fellow too, he had the same concept about how you level off that huge pyramid. You basically have to get it to a certain height and just use coat it with tar. Pour some tar in there so you got a ceiling on there, and add some water. And so you got a layer of tar, then you add water on there. The water will show you the height that you have to level off to. You put enough water in to cover any high points that you have in the tar there. And then you just add sand until you get to the height of the water. Once you've done that, you've got a flat surface. But you may not need a completely flat surface to begin with anyway. Well, you get a flat surface, but I mean you're going to still have to still bring the stones here on a raft and then roll them off, and you're going to have to put like a wooden ramp, like other people like in Nova that use you make a wooden road. Basically you put some logs one way and then you just roll the other ones on top of there, and you just roll it along, because you can't roll on sand, you know. That's just not the way you go. You have to use rollers, and you can use different size of rollers on one end and a thicker on the one end, so that you can do corners if you have to rotate it around corners if you pull it. You just use different size of wood. So anyway, so you get your first layer on there. You see you got a canal still up the center, but you get your first layer. Just rolling them in. I'll talk about placing them later. Okay, so for your next layer, you just bring them all in. You can even have one huge raft, I don't care. You could have a smaller raft, but you can bring them all in. Then you use a twisting stone. You just twist it, so it's actually shorter when you put it in, but when you twist it, it fills the gap. And it's got to go all the way to the bottom of the channel. Well, not necessarily, the raft does anyway. And you can add extra weight, so make sure that it's all the way to the bottom of the canal, so there's no water getting underneath. And then you can seal the top if you want with I mean you put it tight anyway, but you can put some tar on just to seal it temporarily, and you just fill it up with water and you lift the whole thing up at once. And of course you just use the same system of, well, now that you got a limestone base, you don't have to make your own road because you got something solid. And you can just roll them out to the edge here. And as you roll them out, of course, the raft will raise up. So what you have to do is you just take water out and keep the height all the same always. So as you roll them out on the stones there. You might, if you want to do it that way, you can just, you know, have one going out there and this one going out there, and then, you know, until you get to the middle, and then pull that one off, and away you go. So now you got two layers there. So what you do is you have a system like this, and you've got that locking stone that's got to fit there nice and tight inside there when you twist it. So it's just got to be right at the right height there. And then you just throw some tar on the top there. On the inside, paint it a bit and make sure that the gaps aren't too big. After you get your load of load of stone in there, and you can just raise the whole thing up at once. I would do the whole thing up at once, not just one stone at a time. You know, as much as you can do, a whole layer. And in fact, you can even pyramid it inside as you do it, so that you can always get the maximum amount of stone up at the time with your whenever you load it up, so that you do your max stones when you do your hydraulic lift. You just keep filling them in there. But I don't think you can really do that, but that's just an idea. You know, these are just ideas. They're not necessarily how they did it, or it's just in a way that they could have done it, possibly. Anyway, and here now, once you got that, let's say you got that, you know, you have that one gallery there that they talk about. You know, I was thinking, well, maybe that's just like Houdini. That's an internal hydraulic system they got in there. And it wouldn't be the only one in actually there. So you have it up, and then you bring the stone up, roll them off. You have to unload it. You make hydraulic or pools on the outside to keep water going, you know, up there. I mean, they used that system for irrigation and so forth. You just have a bunch of things. It's pretty simple. You know, it takes time, but it's much easier to move a bunch of water than it is to pull it up. And especially internally, actually the structure of the pyramid with its wide base at the bottom and narrower at the top is excellent for a hydraulic system where you have pressures greater at the bottom, so you have a bigger base, and lighter at the top. You know, it's almost the shape of the pyramid, to me, says that yes, it's hydraulic. Anyway, so you have, you know, several chambers that are separate. You can't have one just going all the way to the top because it's such a tremendous amount of force on the bottom. So you have different hydraulic ramps or hydraulic spots going up. So you have one in here, and then you have a little chamber inside there going to the next hydraulic ramp, and you have the next one, and next one all the way up. Yeah, you know, here maybe as a internal thing, more like a keyhole, and you just, as it fills up, it'll fill up the whole thing. But you know, you can work in there. You need it higher than the stone because you got the wood there, you got the raft, so it's got to be higher. It's got to be the height for a raft and the stone, which sounds quite a bit like the chamber there. And if you want, you can fill these up after, or as you know, like you can fill the keyhole part up after if you want. I mean, it's not easy. Nothing's really easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's possible. Here's a picture of kind of a chamber. So you got the one hydraulic ramp here. You got a wider area, some working room. You got your twist lock block here. So you just put it in there and twist it. Once it's twisted, it's got the friction against the sides there, and you seal it. And then you've got your other stone in here, and then they fill it up again. And you can even break the seal slowly and let the water just kind of drain out and go down the other one, and it'll help lift up the next one. So so basically you can have a little bit of a river here. It's not, you know, yeah, it's going to drain to the other one, fill up the other one, and let the other stone come up. It's basically always draining, but you can do it like that. Of course, this has to be completely drained before you can open this again and put the stone through. But once it is completely drained, you can move this stone out, put it in here, roll the other stone over to the next thing, bring your, you might even have a few stones in there, because I just can't see you putting one stone in. It's just kind of pointless. Why don't you do 10 stones instead of one stone? Lift them all at once. Anyway, so then you just move your twisting lock stone in there, and then seal it, and lift up some more stones. So here's placing stones. Once you get to placing stone, now it's kind of hard because you got to roll it in, and then, okay, so now you got this piece of board under here. How do you get it out? You got to roll it in, and it's right against the other ones. But so what you got to do is you have to put a little bit of a lift on the inside there. So some boards across and a rope system. You can put a little plug in if you put a plug in, and put a rope with a piece of wood or into a piece of wood, and then add water, swells, tightens it up. Once it's tight enough, then you can just twist this thing, keep it tight. Keep this thing tight by adding water. You can add water, but you know, as you twist this rope, it actually gets stronger, and you can lift it up, and you just have to lift it up a half an inch so you can pull this piece of wood out. And once you've done that, then you just lower it, and there you got your piece, your stone in. And you're actually using your own building blocks to help make your system there. And if you want to square off, you know, you want to make sure you have a nice smooth face on your limestones as you put them in there. And you take, at your quarry place, you just take your granite. If you got granite around there, you just put granite on granite, rotate it around, and as you rotate it around, it'll break off, and eventually it'll just get smooth. Once it gets smooth, then you take it off. You got your smooth granite sander, basically, to put a limestone on there with a bit of granite granules on top of that limestone, or even limestone, and you just rotate it until it's smooth. With the grit there, it'll help make it easier to rotate, and it'll smooth it off. You still have to flip them over if you want to smooth every side. So, you know, that's a thing, you know, flipping it over. But they use those for putting up the monoliths. A sand system. You can use a sand system to flip it over. You know, that might work. And then grind the other side and sand. You know, you bring it up a kind of a ramp, and a little bit of a ramp, and then just take the sand out, and it flips it. And then once it's flipped, you just bring it out to the other. It's not easy. And then you just rotate it on the granite again, and you got that side smooth. You can do all the sides smooth, and you pull it out and put it on your raft out down the river, and or up the river over to your canal and to your pyramid, and away you go again. So there's my thoughts about building a pyramid. It's basically hydraulic force, and people say, oh, they couldn't use hydraulics. Well, I mean, they lived with the river. They used hydraulics basically to even water their crops. You know, if you're going to say they can't do this and they can't do that, they can't do this, we have to, like, then you come to the conclusion, wow, the aliens did it, you know. Anyway, so basically they used hydraulics, I think, to lift the pyramid, all the pyramid stones, and place them. They used a little bit of a crane, but not really. Very primitive crane. And what do you think of that? Now, I don't know if it's true or not. It's just some ideas. I just thought I'd throw it out there. Have a good day.